You want to talk about the news, Justin?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Let's take a look at some news stories here. The first one, the big one, is Last of Us Part 1. Earlier in the week, there was some leaked gameplay footage, about 3 minutes worth, I think. Or it was either 3 or 6. I didn't catch it. I think it's been taken down at this point. Mm-hmm. But what ended up happening is then on Thursday night, Naughty Dog published a pretty extensive 10-minute look at the features and gameplay updates that are coming for the PS5 version of this game, which will be launching in like early September. Yeah, September 2nd. I think they also announced here, I don't know if this was the announcement, but it was the first time I caught it, that this is also coming out for PC. Not day and date, but eventually.
And again, I think that's going to be pretty standard now for Sony first party from now until
seems
forever.
That way.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they've announced at some point this year, like, we are looking to increase our PC footprint, which, happy for those PC players. Justin, I watched this. After you sent it to me, I saw because you sent it to me, where you basically said that, after watching it, it's maybe making you rethink whether or not you should buy it. So before we get into your opinion about it, I just want to say, like, the 10-minute video is pretty interesting. They do show you, like, a lot of those accessibility features, which I think hands down make this remake worth it, because from some people who I've seen from disabled gamers have said, like, the first Last of Us was pretty much unplayable for a wide range of people who have disabilities. So the fact that this gets everything that was in The Last of Us 2, which was, I mean, just monstrous in terms of how many accessibility options and features were in there, in addition to something new that they showcase here that I think has never been put in a video game before, which was fully full descriptive audio.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that is really, really something. So that fact alone makes this remake, in my opinion, worth it, so that more people can be able to play this. That said, for people who have already played it, for us, fans of the original, who maybe replayed it 2 years ago at this point, what do you think about this, man? Because they were talking a lot about how, like, we can finally make this the true vision that we had back in 2013 or 2012 or whenever the hell that game came out. But it kind of looks a lot like the original. It looks better. Like, it looks really fucking good. But how did this grab you?
I mean, it was already like one of those games that I was kind of like, well, I guess I'll play it when it comes back out, like, to see what they did with it. But, like, as someone who's not, like, super into, like, visual upgrades and, like, things like that, like, I don't care if it looks like, janky or whatever, as long as it kind of plays well. It didn't look to me that this stuff is going to be drastically a different gameplay experience. It'll be improved in almost every way. It'll be the best way to play it. I'll never probably want to go back to the old versions of it. But I don't feel like it's something that is going to change video games or impact video games like Last of Us Part 2 or even the original Last of Us release date was. But I don't think that means this game shouldn't exist.
Sure, it's just your personal preference, right?
Right.
So I guess my question for you is, what changed between when this was originally announced to this video? Like, what did this video change in you that said, oh, maybe I don't need to play this?
I mean, I don't want to sound reductive when I say this, but it is the same game.
Did you not think it would be?
I thought they might change up some of what they did, but, like, it looks kind of like everything with, like, better models, better graphics, better everything, same basic level layout, same basic things like that. Just everything looks better. And it's not just a remaster. Like, this is clearly, like, everything is from the ground up. It looks different. They did some really interesting comparisons between, like, PS4 Pro and, like, the PS5 about the old versus the new one and how those things look. But again, I'm not going to, like, I don't want to sit there and, like, look at the Vista again or, like, whatever. And I just did recently play this game in, 2020 again, and I don't feel like I need to play it again.
Yeah.
Specifically if there's a $70 price tag with it. But, like, even if this game was $30, would I need to play that?
That's the thing. Like
it. It's not the cost thing. I mean, for me, again, I guess I'm a place of privilege where it's not a cost thing. But, like, even if it was $30, I just don't know if I needed to play this.
No, that's fair. Especially because they talked a lot about, or at least, I I don't know if they have officially talked about this or if this is just something that people have said online with like rumors and leaks and whatever. But like, you're taking the gameplay stylings of The Last of Us 2 and bringing them to this. And I think they briefly mentioned that in the video by talking about like the updated AI for the enemies. But like to me, the gameplay of The Last of Us 2 was a lot about like, there was a lot more like prone stuff where you could crawl underneath cars and underneath like cover and stuff like that in a way that you could sort of get the jump on enemies. But first of all, they didn't show that at all.
Yeah.
They just showed off the AI. And then also like, well, if this is being designed like pretty like really faithfully to the original like environments and everything, then that stuff like wouldn't really work because it's not designed with that in mind. Whereas like Last of Us 2, they designed each level, I imagine, by saying like, okay, we can run over stuff, we can jump over stuff, we can crawl underneath it, like that sort of thing. You know what I mean by that?
Yeah, and I feel like Last of Us Part 2, when you were in a combat encounter, it was much more like of a sandbox about how to go about it. And I felt like in the original Last of Us, it was much more like linear, kind of with how you had to progress through them. You could still choose to like take out this enemy first or distract this enemy to do that kind of stuff, but it just felt like the worlds themselves were bigger and kind of like open to more like traversal and stuff like that than the original one. And unless they're going to really redesign these combat encounters, which it doesn't look like they're going to do, like would adding a prone to Joel's combat thing really help?
I mean, that's the thing. Like, probably not.
Now, it would be interesting to see what they're going to do with the Ellie section. Sorry, spoiler for Last of Us Part 1. Like, are they going to, like, just make Ellie play kind of one-to-one with how she played in Part 2? Like, more with her movement kind of style stuff? But
I mean, was there really a difference, you think?
Like, between... Well... Like, with having more, like, prone abilities and stuff like that.
Oh, I see.
But, I don't know. I mean, she already played different from Joel in the original game. Like, her...
Right, yeah.
Like...
She had the knife.
The knife, but, like, it didn't break, but it wouldn't kill. Like,
Would it not?
Clicker in one hit.
Oh, sure, okay.
I think.
Right? No, I think it did kill clickers in one hit.
Oh, then, yeah. Cool.
But then when you start back up as Joel, you're like, all right, cool, we get the knife, right? It's like, no.
Nah, that knife is gone.
No. There was one thing I was going to say about. I'll be interested to see with that Ellie section if they throw in the Left Behind DLC in the middle, or like if that's going to be standalone. Because I worry that like if you throw that in the middle, like you might kind of mess up the pacing of it all. But I also don't know. It's not like that long of a DLC or anything like that.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I am going to be playing this when it comes out. If not for podcast content, then what else, Justin?
It's all about the podcast. I mean,
it really is.
Knowing me, though, it might be a world where I'm like, fine, I'll do it.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, you're not wrong, though, about like, this is like the same game, hands down. And I don't think that they've been trying to hide that necessarily.
Yeah.
Like, I think that like they were pretty upfront about that when this was finally announced at Summer Game Fest. But yeah, the $70 price tag is, I think, a sticking point.
Yeah, and I think this is like the ultimate place of privilege for a company like Naughty Dog, that they can spend the resources in order to take an old game of theirs and basically redo it so it looks like their other good game that they have out there. This is not something that every company can do. This is just something that I think that Naughty Dog's kind of like, we want to see what The Last of Us 1 could have looked like in this generation. What would that look like?
Which I will say, like, upon playing The Last of Us Part 2, like, you do have those flashback scenes, and they look great, and you kind of are thinking, like, damn, what would that game have been like if it looked like this? So I guess this is the answer. But, so there you go. Last of Us Part 1 coming out on September 2nd, which we will be talking about.